Hey y'all, I want to show you a story, a book that I had one just like this when I was a kid. And this one is, you can tell it's kind of old. And I had to buy it off of eBay or something like that because my book like this got washed away in Hurricane Katrina. But mine was special because my dad had written something on the inside of it for me when he bought it, and I forgot exactly what it said. Maybe your mama will remember. I had it for a long time, and the one that I had was just about the same worn out as this one is, so whoever's book this is probably was about as old as mine. But anyway, I got a new one just because I liked all the stories in it so much, and they always reminded me of my daddy because my daddy would read them to me. So that would be your great grandpa, Papa. Wait, I got a picture over here, right? I'm gonna get it for you. Okay, that's him right there. My daddy and my mama. That's the original Gammy and Papa. And Papa is the one who gave me this book to begin with a long time ago and used to read the stories to me. So I would like to read some of the stories to you. I'm going to start with one my dad had written on this page in the book that was mine. This, I don't know what that is. Maybe somebody's name or something. And this book was a gift to somebody too. Christmas, December 24th, 1966, from Belle, Jackie, and Jill Inks to Alan Dale. So this was Alan Dale's book, I suppose. And you can see 50 Famous Fairy Tales is the name of it. It's got a lot of stories in it. And the book was made in 1965. Now, these stories are really, really old stories. They go back a long way. A lot of them, they've made lots of storybooks and Disney movies of them, like Cinderella is in there, and Hansel and Gretel, and lots of them. Some of my favorites are The Nose. That was a really good one. Sleeping Beauty is in there. And there's The Straw, the Coal, and the Bean. There's lots of books. Lots of little stories, anyway. The one that I want to read to you today is The Steadfast Tin Soldier. And it's a really nice story about a toy soldier. Steadfast means that you stay where you're supposed to be and you do what you're supposed to do. That's what steadfast means. What page is it? 217? Almost there. Here it is. And these are old fairy tales. Like I said, a lot of these are really, really old stories. Once, a long time ago, there were 25 soldiers who were all brothers because they had been made from the same old tin spoon. Each soldier stood very straight and wore a splendid uniform of red and blue. The first thing they heard as the lid was taken off their box was a small child clapping his hands and shouting, "Soldiers, soldiers!" He took each one of them out of their box and stood them on the table with the rest of his birthday presents. Now all these soldiers were exactly alike, with one exception. The exception of one who had only one leg. You see, he had been the last one made and there just wasn't enough tin left to finish him. But he stood just as straight on his one leg as the others did on two, and he's the hero of the story. There were many other toys on the table, but the one that caught everyone's eye was a beautiful little cardboard castle. You could see right into the bright rooms through tiny windows, and outside was surrounded by a glass lake with waxen swans swimming on it. Altogether it made a charming picture, but the prettiest thing of all was the lovely little lady who stood in the open door of the cardboard castle. She also was made out of cardboard, and she wore a beautiful dress of light gauze. Over her shoulders was a dainty blue ribbon with a brilliant spangle on one end of it. She stood with her arms outstretched, for she was a dancer, and had kicked one foot so high in the air that the soldier supposed that she, like himself, had only one leg. She would be a fine wife for me, the soldier thought to himself, But she's far too grand. She lives in a fine castle, and I live in a box, which I share with 24 other soldiers. But I must at least try to speak to her." He stood behind a snuff-box on the table, and from there he could watch the little lady, who continued to pose daintily on her one-pointed toe. Later that evening, the other tin soldiers were put away, and all the people of the house went to bed. Then the toys began to play. The tin soldiers rattled inside their box because they couldn't get the lid off. The nutcracker turned somersaults. The pencil scribbled on the paper, and the canary woke up and joined the fun by talking in verse. The only two who didn't move were the tin soldier and the dancing lady. He stood very straight on his one leg, never taking his eyes off the little lady, who stood so prettily with both arms outstretched. As the clock struck 12, the lid flew off the snuff-box, and a little black goblin peeped out. "Tin